Imagine stepping into a giant swimming pool, but not on Earth. Instead, you're inside a massive dome on the surface of the moon, surrounded by gray dust, a black sky, and Earth glowing overhead. What would it be like to dive into lunar water? At first, you might think swimming on the moon would be totally different from swimming on Earth. After all, gravity on the moon is only 1/6 as strong. But surprisingly, some parts of the experience would feel very familiar. Floating, for example. Whether on Earth or on the moon, your body floats depending on density compared to water. Gravity doesn't really matter here. You'd still bob up and down the same way, sipping air at the surface. And when you dive beneath, the drag that slows you down comes from the inertia of water, which also doesn't change. In fact, the maximum speed for an underwater swimmer would be about the same as Earth, around 2 meters per second. But once you break the surface, everything changes. Picture yourself launching out of the pool. On Earth, even the best swimmers barely rise above the surface. On the moon, you'd soar. A casual swimmer might leap a full meter into the air, suspending in slow motion before splashing back down. An Olympic swimmer? Maybe 2 or 3 meters. And with fins, things get wild. Champion fin swimmers could hit speeds of over 3 meters per second underwater. On the moon, that would be enough to propel them 4 or 5 meters into the air. Imagine doing a high dive in reverse. And here is an even crazier thought. Researchers once calculated that while humans can run on water on Earth, the reduced gravity on the moon might make it possible. For a few glorious steps, you could actually sprint across the surface of the pool like a comic book superhero before sinking in. But it's not just you that would leap higher. The water itself would behave differently. Waves would rise taller, splashes would scatter farther, and droplets would hang in the air longer before falling. Pools on the moon would be far more chaotic, in technical terms, much more splashy. Designers would need clever drainage systems to keep water from flying out of the dome. Otherwise, one big splash fight could empty half the pool. Of course, engineers could simply build higher rims. But then you'd ruin one of the greatest perks of a lunar pool, sliding out onto the deck like a slip-and slide champion. Sounds amazing, right? But then comes the obvious question. How do you even get a swimming pool's worth of water to the moon? On Earth, an average backyard pool holds about the same weight as 4 Apollo lunar landers. That's a lot of mass to haul 384,000 kilometers through space. NASA's modern SLS rocket is powerful enough to carry it, but each launch costs billions. Private space companies could eventually do it cheaper. But still, this is not your neighborhood construction project. And yet, it's not impossible. For comparison, the budget of a single Summer Olympics often exceeds $10 billion. If humanity can spend that much for 2 weeks of sports, maybe a permanent lunar swimming pool isn't so far-fetched. Besides, any moon base will already require water for drinking, farming, and experiments. Recycling systems will keep it circulating. Adding a pool might not be as outrageous as it sounds. And honestly, wouldn't it be worth it? A place where astronauts, scientists, and maybe even tourists could dive, leap, and glide in a way impossible on Earth. Imagine children growing up in a lunar colony, learning to swim not with slow laps, but with soaring jumps into low gravity. Imagine competitions where fin swimmers launch themselves meters into the air, twisting in ballet-like arcs before splashing down. The moon could give us an entirely new sport. Part swimming, part gymnastics, part superhero training. Of course, we'd need to make sure the dome was strong enough to hold an atmosphere, that heating kept the water liquid, and that no rogue cannonball sent half the pool drifting into lunar dust. But these are technical problems, not impossibilities. And here's the truth. Swimming on the moon wouldn't just be fun. It would remind us why we explore space in the first place. Not just for science, not just for survival, but for joy. For the childlike thrill of doing something wonderful and weird, like diving into water under alien skies. So maybe, just maybe, the best reason to return to the moon isn't mining or military advantage. It's building the wildest swimming pool in the solar system. Imagine, if you had the chance to take that first lunar dive, soaring meters above the surface, what would you do? Would you cannonball, dolphin leap, or sprint across the water like a superhero? Share your dream lunar dive in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to X. Imagine for more impossible journeys that make the universe feel closer than ever.